You are not just another hustling salesperson. You are the expert, the resource, the valuable partner for your clients. And how you grow your business should reflect how your clients see you. Welcome to the Roadmap to Grow Your Business podcast. We generate referrals without asking, build positive client experiences, and help you take control of your business. Here's your charmingly sarcastic host, Stacey Brown Randall.
Hey there, and welcome to episode 163 of the Roadmap to Grow Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Stacey Brown Randall. I am really excited to talk about one of my personal favorite tools that I use within my client experience. I, just like you, as we've been spending, 2 months now together going through the client experience and breaking down what it means for you specifically as a small business owner and what it looks like to actually break it down, understand it, and then the most important piece, put it into practice. Right? I'm just like you guys. And it is important for me that I deliver a sticky client experience the same way I want you guys to deliver a sticky client experience, because that's what gets us repeat clients. And that's, of course, what helps us generate referrals as well. And so when I have tools that I use in my business, I like to share them. And there is one tool specifically that I use that helps me create a part of my sticky client experience. And it is a video app. And I am so excited that we're going to have Casey Hill, who is the head of growth for Bonjoro, which is the video app that I use. I'm so excited to have him come on and kind of give you guys the overview that I could not give you, because I use Bonjoro for like one or two specific reasons. And he's going to talk about actually how you can use an app like Bonjoro or any of the other ones, but we've got a really cool offer for you guys as well that I'll mention in just a minute. But it's a great opportunity for you to think about how you could use video connections with your clients during the client experience, but throughout all three stages. So we've been talking about the new client stage, the active client stage, and most recently, the alumni client stage. And he's going to talk through some things that I hadn't even considered in terms of how you can use different tools, specifically this one being a video app, of how you can connect better with your clients as part of the client experience. And I loved having him have this conversation with me because he really did open my eyes to like other opportunities and ways that you could use it. Like I kind of use it in two very specific ways, but of course he uses it in different ones. So if you are a Growth by Referral student right now with me, then you know when you join the Growth by Referrals program, at least over the last 2 years when we started using this tool, then you know that you get a welcome video from me. Sometimes it means I am on a morning walk or an afternoon walk when you get that video. And it's me personally welcoming you to the program. I love doing those. I love personally being able to welcome each and every individual student that comes into my Growth by Referrals program. But if you've also ever signed up for a referral audit call with me, which means you're going to give me some data about your business, and based on your answers, I'm going to be able to very quickly assess where your gaps are and then how you need to solve them moving forward if you want more referrals in your business. So if you've ever signed up for a referral audit call, I've also sent videos. We started doing this within the last year. I've also sent videos out to you prior to us getting on that call together. And I just feel like that creates better engagement. It creates better community. Let's be honest, it also creates a better show up rate as well. But specifically for my students, my clients, when they join my program, it allows me to connect with them in a way that I normally wouldn't. And I love the responses that I get back. And the cool thing is I really love knowing different things about my clients. I mean, I know that there are some folks that you may do business with where because you're working one-on-one with them, you know them intimately and they know you. But my students, right, my clients are spread out all over the world. We're in 10 or 11 different countries right now. And so I'm never going to meet everybody. And I'm actually never going to meet all my referral sources either. And so for me, finding ways to connect with them, to make them feel like they're a part of the community and just to know how valuable they are to me and how much I appreciate them, I love having the functionality of this tool. I mean, for me personally, I love knowing that Denise is an interior designer in New Jersey. That's right. I love knowing, right, that Anne-Marie is an educational consultant in Texas. I love knowing that Diane is a real estate agent in Oregon. Like, I love the things I get to know when I connect with the people who do business with me, because I think it helps me show up better for them. give them better examples and context around the ideas that I'm teaching. And this is all started with a simple video. And when they respond back to me and say, thanks for the video, it also allows a dialogue to start that just really wouldn't happen in the same way, because it's pretty easy to do it using this very specific tool I'm about to talk to you guys about today by interviewing, again, as I said, Casey Hill, who is the head of growth for Bonjoro. So Bonjoro is the video tool that I use to send all of my videos. Now, Casey is going to talk about the best, like some of the best uses he's seen people use within the app. So, and these are going to be all different types of clients. So as you guys listen to him talk about it, you may hear him reference your industry, right? But you're going to hear him talk about some of the best ways to really think through how you could be using this tool or a tool like it, if Bonjoro isn't the one that you decide to go with, if you're already using a different one, right? How you can use it to improve. Specifically, what I'm asking about is our client experience. And so he's going to talk about what that looks like in terms of making sure you're thinking about the use of video, thinking about it differently, but making it easy, which, let me be honest, is the reason why I actually like Bonjoro, because it's easy. There's nothing complicated about using the app and using it for my desktop or for my phone, right? And he's going to walk you through some of this great information. But I do want to mention to you that Bonjoro has offered a very special offer to the listeners of my podcast, or to those of you who will see me talk about this in a social media link. And that is the ability to get 20% off of your Bonjoro account for life. And whether that's 20% off, whether you pay monthly or you pay annually, to get 20% off. And so I'm going to link to that special link in the show notes page for this episode. But for those of you who are like, give me the link now, Stacey, it's stacybrownrandall.com/Bonjoro. And Bonjoro is spelled Bonjoro, not Bonjoro, Bonjoro. There's not the second N, which I sometimes get tripped up on. But I will put a link to that. I will put a link in the show notes so that you guys have access to that special offer, and would love for you guys to check it out. That link will take you to a special page where you can actually see the pricing with the 20% discount for life already added to your account. And there's multiple levels to consider when joining Bonjoro. So again, it is stacybrownrandall.com/Bonjoro. And of course, I'll put a link in the show notes, and the show notes for this episode is stacybrownrandall.com/163. All right, let's dive in to Casey's interview. Welcome, Casey. I'm so excited to have you on the Roadmap to Grow Your Business podcast. We've been talking about having you on for a long time. I won't actually say how long, but a long time. So I'm glad we finally made it happen. I'm so excited for you to come on and share with the audience about your platform, about Bonjoro. I think you know, and as I've already said this in my introduction, I am a user of Bonjoro. I've been using it for now a couple of years, and we really found some great functionality for it in terms of how we use it to really better connect with not only our prospects, but also the students in some of our programs, and then also just communicating with our students once they're in the program as well, being able to use video versus just sending an email or just sending a note. So I'm excited to have you on, but why don't you just kind of start for us with explaining what Bonjoro actually is?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thank you so much for having me, Stacey. I'm excited to chat. So Bonjoro is basically a personal video application. And the way I explain it to people, to kind of give a simple example, is imagine that each time someone bought from you, or maybe each time someone booked a call on your calendar, you automatically could get a pop-up that came up on your phone, and you could just click and record that person a quick personal welcome, create that human connection right off the bat and kind of set the stage for the relationship to come. So our tool is basically built to make it as easy as possible for you to record personal videos that you then send out to your customers or your prospects at key points during that kind of customer journey.
That's awesome. And my favorite thing about it is that it will, like you just said, like I can have my assistant go in and she can create the task for me, and then it pops up on my phone. And when the pandemic hit and everybody like started working from home or whatever, and I felt like I was taking like 3 and 4 walks a day, mainly just to get out of the house and away from my 3 children who were who were also home. I started recording my welcome videos on my walks, and now it's kind of become tradition. And I'm like, oh, look at that. I don't have to be like all, camera perfect when I do this. I can just pull out my phone. It's right there in the app. pull it up, record the video, and send it off. And most folks who are in my Growth by Referrals program, who are a GBR student, they know, because when they joined, they got a welcome video from me. So they know exactly what I'm talking about. And more than likely, I was on a walk, and I learned really fast to do them early in my walks before I got winded later in my walk as the walk was ending. But I do love that ease of application, of which just like, hey, I can do it from my desktop, of course, but having it on my phone and the reminder is there is fabulous as well. I think it creates the lack of, diminishes the procrastination I could find myself in if I couldn't do it from the phone and could only do it from the desktop. So I'm sure you guys find the ease of use is really what sets you apart.
Yeah, 100%. So I also like to do mine on daily walks. That's funny that you shared that. I think a lot of our power users lean in heavily to the mobile application. I think the world we live in today is so dynamic, and people are out and about. And, before the pandemic, especially, I think that having that ability to work wherever you're at is super critical. So 100%. And I think that was a key part. And then also, the way that our tool is built is it's like a set of to-dos, like a set of task to-dos. So that's the other thing too, is we wanted to make sure that you didn't welcome half your customers, but the other half didn't get welcome, and people kind of fell through the cracks. So the task system is good because you just know, okay, I have 8 of these to do today. And it's very straightforward. Once you do it, it's done, it's checked off. So it becomes something that you can really kind of incorporate into your kind of day-to-day routine.
Yes, absolutely. I have found one of the things I have to be careful about is not dismissing the task when it shows up on my phone, because then sometimes it's like out of sight, out of mind. So I always keep the little bear icon right there on my phone so I see what I have coming up. All right. So let's break this down for folks. So, we're doing this interview, and the listeners of the podcast over the last number of weeks, they've been listening to me break down the client experience. We started with episode 151, and we're working our way through me explaining like what the client experience is, how it's different from customer service, of course, then the parts to it, the nuts and bolts of like when it starts and the stages of it. And then we've been breaking down each of the 3 stages, that new client stage, that active client stage, and the alumni client stage. And what I really wanted to do was give a tool that could highlight those client stages, like a tool you could use in between and amongst all of those client stages. So as we talked about before we started recording, I lean heavily into it when I'm dealing with a prospect. I'll definitely send a Bonjoro video when I have a prospect on my calendar. And as we talked about, it helps with the show up rates of those calls that you'll have. And then, of course, when a new student joins any of my programs, they'll get a video from me. And there's been other times I've started using it more often, but not completely the way I think you guys, like you can share the way you see some of your other clients use it throughout that client experience. So can you just give us some of your like thoughts on best cases or best practices where you see companies use it, not just when the client is new and you're onboarding them, but how you maintain that connection throughout that client experience and even when they're no longer a client anymore?
Yeah, such a great question, because I think that, relationships in general are not just one touch point, right? It's something that, happens over time and is cultivated over time. So I think when it comes to utilization of personal video, there's a handful we can walk through. So the first one is really around milestones, right? So let's say that you're a real estate agent and, the home finally finishes through escrow or finally closes. That could be a milestone that you kind of celebrate with them. Or maybe it is some time period after that where, it was a year ago, or, when you reach out asking for a review or what have you, but some sort of key milestone that you have in the relationship with that individual. And obviously that'll be variable by business. I see a lot of people using this really effectively. And I think the rationale behind it is just building a more robust relationship, realizing that a lot of these businesses that are heavily relationship based are also going to be heavily referral based. So you staying top of mind and you staying across that individual's kind of radar is going to help just build that relationship over time and have that person, say positive things about you in a public forum, maybe refer you business. And so that's something that we've seen a lot of different adaptations of, is celebration of milestones. One use case interview that I did somewhat recently with a really, really successful membership group that had a 96% annual retention with 3,000 plus members, which is phenomenal.
Yes.
They had basically some people that would pick out anytime someone posted in their public group, something notable. So it was a nonprofit kind of charity incubator. And so people would post that they got grants, or they would post different milestones. Those would then get all passed to Joan, who ran the business. And Joan would then send not a crazy amount, just like 10 per week. So, basically specific videos to celebrate accomplishments, celebrate victories, and keep that relationship really, really strong. So I think that's definitely one, is milestones. Two, a little bit closer to the time of purchase, but a little bit after, is just reviews, right? Again, on the vein of customer proof, I think personal videos through tools like Bonjoro tend to be really good at getting reviews because it's like a personal ask, right? So instead of having it be kind of an automated process, they get an email, leave us a review. It's like they can tell someone took time out of their day to interact and say, hey, if you had a good experience, it'd be super helpful for me if you did X. When it comes from an individual and they can actually see, and there's tone and body language and all those things that video brings to the table, I think your rates of actually getting people to respond and engage and leave those reviews is going to go way up. So milestones is definitely one. Reviews is definitely one. We see also people using this in kind of a similar relationship vein around different kind of seasonal stuff. So wishing someone happy holidays, right? Or maybe if you have someone's birthday, wishing them a happy birthday. Or maybe again, it's an anniversary of work. So sometime after when you guys close some specific business. So that's another really common one. And it's funny, we at Bonjoro, we send Bonjoros obviously, and our seasonal Bonjoros we send out are the highest engaged Bonjoros of any type that we send out as a company. So people seem to really appreciate that personal touch around the holidays, just to say, hey, check in. It's really just focused around goodwill and showing people that they are significant to us, even though we have at this point, 49,000 customers. We still want to take that individual time and make sure people see that, they're more than a number to us as an organization. So that's a third common use case on kind of that post sale or kind of the maturing customer phase.
So I have to ask, when you send out the seasonal ones, are you guys dressed up in your costumes?
So I think it's variable. I usually am wearing some sort of a Christmas hat, although I'm not in my full bear suit. For people listening that aren't familiar, our company has a thing where everyone at the company, when they join, gets a bear suit. So all employees have bear suits. Our mascot is a bear. So that's something that we sometimes will whip out on special occasions. But yeah.
Well, it's definitely memorable, right? I mean, I remember that you guys wear the bear suits. And I remember the first time I met folks with your company, and I was at a conference in Santa Barbara in 2018. And they were all at the table at the trade show. They were all dressed up in their bear suits. You could not notice them. I mean, I love it. So
yeah.
And one of the things I love what you guys do is how you, and this is just from a user experience perspective, but I love how you take the bear theme and you weave it throughout your entire, the back end and what we see as a customer, because, when you've done all your Bonjoro task, the bear is like, hey, you're all out of honey. You're all good, right? You really do carry that through. And I mean, we try to do that with our Growth by Referrals program with our Referral Ninjas, and you get different belt colors as you go through and earn badges within our Referral Ninjas. So I like how you guys do the same thing. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And, what it really reminds me of is there's a famous marketer named Seth Godin who I really like his content and I followed a lot of his stuff. He wrote a book called Purple Cow. Mm-hmm. And basically what he says in that book is he's like, if you're driving down the street and you see a cow, you probably wouldn't think that much of it. But if you're driving down the street and you see a bright purple cow, just all of us put ourselves in that situation, you're going to take a picture of it. You're going to text that to your friends or your spouse or whatever. You're going to say, this is crazy. You're going to post on social media and say, what the heck is this? There'd be a lot of buzz that gets produced by that. And so I think in today's world, when we're so used to just getting inundated with the same, bulk newsletter, the same undifferentiated pitches, getting that personal video, I think has that memorable value that sticks out. Right. And so I think that's an important thing for us to remember across business, whether it's, bear suits, whether it's sending someone a personal video. I think what you want to do is you want to be memorable in some context. And so figuring out how you're going to do that, I think will definitely benefit you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there is another company I use called Design Pickle that I use for all my design stuff. And when I first signed up as a client, I don't know, I've been a client for a number of years with them now, but they literally mailed you a pickle in the mail. And it was not like a little pickle, it was like a huge pickle. And it was really kind of funny. I remember it. I mean, it was like, I don't know, 4 years ago, something like that. And I remember it to this day. I remember your bear suits. I do think, and that's one of the things we talk about in the client experiences is, it's having that wow factor. It doesn't have to be like to what we're talking about in terms of how you guys take the mascot as the bear and the bear suits, or even how I do it with the referral ninjas and taking it all the way through everything we do. Because I'm sure the attorneys sitting here listening or financial advisors are like, yeah, I don't know how I would do that. I'm not Chick-fil-A, right? I don't have a cow. But I do think from that perspective, there are ways to think about weaving in that wow factor that does make you memorable, as you're saying, which I think is great.
Yeah, 100%. And we actually deal with a ton of people in the finance space in all kind of different capacities. And so I think that the principle really at a core level is anytime you're in any kind of discipline that is heavily relationship focused, right? That's the cornerstone. Then having a human being and having really that association, not just with the overall brand, but with a person, I think is really compelling, right? The reason that you reduce, no-show rates on demos by sending them a video is because someone now is not no-showing on some anonymous being, they're no-showing on a person. And the reason I think people really appreciate a personal welcome is it's so rare today, right? How many brands can we think of that when we buy a product from them, we get a personal thank you, a personal welcome? It's just really not expected. And so there's kind of that surprise and delight factor. And I think that also a little bit of a concierge kind of vibe too. It feels kind of like you're a VIP, right? To get this personal attention from the brand. So I think those all kind of tie into the psychology of it.
I completely agree. We recently used Bonjoro when we were sending out videos to students who had purchased the Growth by Referrals program. And then we had noticed it had been at least 6 months since they had either logged in or gotten to a certain milestone. And so there was our ability to reach out and be like, hey, no judgment. We've all bought things that we then haven't done anything with, but we also know for you to get a return on investment, you got to go through the program. And so, we sometimes look at it from that perspective to kind of help people along as well to make that connection. And I love it. I mean, it's like you've been listening to the podcast all along, or, you read my book or you've been in the program because you're using the same language that we talk about. It's about relationships. It's about connection. It's about being memorable, and it's about top of mind. And I think when you can find a platform like yours that is then, let's be honest, gives you the ease of use behind it, it really makes a no-brainer. And how could you not? How could you not do this because of how easy, of course, the platform makes it as well. So, I mean, I think that's great. So, Casey, is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have asked you that you would want to make sure our audience just knows about in terms of, from a Bonjoro perspective and how you guys see people using it, and then just some of the things they need to be thinking about as they finish listening to our interview?
Yeah, well, only other thing I would note, I think we talked about the mobile component, which is definitely critical. Another thing to take note of is we have a lot of native integrations. And so depending on what kind of line of business you are, you may or may not be using some of these systems, but we have about 20 native integrations in with CRMs and email automation tools. And what those native integrations will do is they'll make it so that you actually can produce the tasks automatically. So if someone, for instance, gets added to a tag in a tool like Ontraport, for example, you can have that create the Bonjoro task automatically. So it's just another way that we're trying to make this as much everything other than the video. We want to try to help automate for you and to make that as seamless as possible. And the only thing that you're having to really, take your 30 seconds to do or minute to do is the actual personal video itself. So for anyone listening who is using maybe even personal video tools or has heard of it, but doesn't have any kind of native connection, that's another great value proposition that we can bring to the table for you.
Yeah, I think anything that makes it easier for us to do the things we know we should be doing certainly puts it in our favor that we will do them.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, Casey, thank you so much for taking time to be on the podcast today with me. I really appreciate it. I mean, obviously, I know that I wanted you guys to come on. I wanted, to be able to spotlight Bonjoro because I use it and I see the power behind it. And obviously, we know you guys have competitors, but I wanted to bring on, you because I wanted you to talk about the one that I use, and so that we could have that conversation around best uses and how it's been used in different businesses. So thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Stacey.
Is there anything else that you wanted to share with our audience about where they can find you? I'm going to put my affiliate link in the show notes for anybody who wants to go check it out from that perspective. But anything else about where you want people to be able to find you?
Yeah, I mean, so you can go right through Stacey's link and check out her website and kind of get the overall vibe of what this is about. The only other thing I'll point out, which I think is a great resource and I can also send over to you, Stacey, to include, is our use case series. So we've done dozens and dozens of interviews. And so basically the way that they're all formatted is a specific problem that someone has, how they address that problem with personal video, and then what the results are. So it's very much, it's not like those use cases that are just like a quotation, right? This is very much the process, the actual videos. Every use case has actual sample videos. And we have those at all stages of the customer lifecycle, from the prospect sales phase all the way through the kind of customer and advocacy phase. So that's a great link too, if you're curious and you're like, how else could I kind of use this thing? Dozens and dozens of kind of real world examples for you.
I think that is fantastic. Guys, I'll definitely link to that in the show notes so you can access that as well. You'll probably see some of those use cases actually highlighted in my second book whenever it eventually gets out there into the world for people to be able to read it. So that is awesome. Thank you, Casey, so much.
Yeah, thank you, Stacey.
What a great conversation to really learn and think about different ways to use an app, a video app like Bonjoro, to make your connection and your engagement with your clients come to life. I really appreciate Casey taking the time to do this with us. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, taking the time to also set up this special offer for the listeners of this podcast, Roadmap to Grow Your Business, or if you're in any of my programs, or of course, if you see this link about this episode on social media, that you guys can get 20% off. That's right, 20% off for life that you have your Bonjoro account if you just sign up using a very special Stacey link, which means you got to go to stacybrownrandall.com/Bonjoro. And of course, it'll take you to the page with all the details and you'll see the discount applied right there. And guys, Bonjoro is like, it's dollars a month, right? I mean, they have a plan that starts around like $10 or $12 a month and then goes up. And I would suggest for most of you, knowing the bulk of who my listeners are, you're going to be looking for those tier 1 and tier 2. You're not going to need the growth plan all the way at the top. But looking at that tier 1 and tier 2 is great from that perspective of how you guys would use that as well. So again, show notes for this episode, stacybrownrandall.com/163. And on there, you, of course, will find this 20% off link that you can go to learn about this special offer. And I will also link to a page on the Bonjoro website where they actually have case studies. So if you want to go in and see how other business owners have used Bonjoro to help them with their client experience, and in some cases, sales and other things that, of course, you can use the Bonjoro app for, I will include the link for that, of course. They call it their use case or their case studies. I'll include the link to that in the show notes page as well. And what I like about their page, when you go in and read about the individual case studies, of course, that is told through video snippets and, of course, text, but video snippets and examples, which makes it easy for you to understand exactly how another business owner is using it. You get to see it. Like, you get to see the videos they're sending to their clients and prospects and others. So really cool. All right, but all that is in the show notes for this episode, stacybrownrandall.com/163. And of course, as always, if you have questions or comments or thoughts, please hop into our Referrals Without Asking Facebook group and please share away. We love it when you guys engage and ask questions and give feedback. And if you're using something like some type of video app like Bonjoro, we definitely want to know about it. How's the best way that you're using it, that you've seen impact in your business? I know it's been huge for me, and I hope it's had huge impact for you with your business as well. All right, next week is episode 164. Guys, we're getting to the very end almost of our client experience series and journey. So next week, I'm actually going to walk you through an exercise activity, whatever you want to call it, that's going to help you unpack your client experience and figure out how you may want to improve yours. But until then, take control and grow your business. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Roadmap to Grow Your Business podcast. To access all resources and links mentioned in today's show and to connect with Stacey, head over to www.stacybrownrandall.com.